Hi, I hope all is well with you. There's a mushal of a couple that has been married for many years and they were not blessed with children. They tried all the segulos, they went to Mukubalim, they went to Gedolim, they asked for brachos, and finally they asked all their friends to daven for them. And lo and behold, after many years, the wife became pregnant. And it was a very exciting time. And they counted down the days until she would give birth. Finally, the day arrived, and the husband brought his wife to the hospital in great anticipation. While waiting outside, he kept noticing that doctors and nurses kept running in and out of the room. And he realized that something wasn't going the way they expected. At one point in time, a doctor came out and told him that there are major complications and they can either save the baby or his wife. And the husband looked at the doctor and said, "This is not a decision for me, this is a decision for my wife." And they asked the expectant mother, and she said, "I want my baby to live. We've waited so long." She turned to her husband and she said, "I just asked one thing from you, to please raise him and teach him and have him understand that I gave my life so that he could have life and that he should live his life accordingly." The husband raised the child, and on the day before his bar mitzvah, he sat his son down and said, "Tonight, you're going to be a bar mitzvah boy. It's also the yard site of your mother. And as you know, your mother sacrificed her life to give you life. So I ask that when you daven as the chazan tonight for Ma'ariv, to daven with kavana, and when you say Kaddish for your mother on her yard site, please say it slowly with immense kavana." The night came, the boy got up, he davened for the Amud, he was the chazan, he davened very quickly and said Kaddish very quickly, seemingly without any kavanah at all. The father was very upset. He turned to his son and he said, "I don't understand. You couldn't say Kaddish slowly? Don't you realize what your mother sacrificed for you?" And the son turned to the father and said, "I didn't know my mother. I have no relationship with her. To me, the only relationship I have is a tombstone in a cemetery. What do you want from me?" That mashal is apt to who we are vis-a-vis the Beis Hamikdash. We don't have a relationship with the Beis Hamikdash. We never experienced it, and it's very difficult for us to mourn something that we never knew. Chazal teach us there are two ways to mourn. One is emotionally, and one is intellectually. Perhaps emotionally it's very difficult for us to mourn because we don't appreciate, or we never really had a relationship with the Beis Hamikdash. Nevertheless, intellectually, we're able to mourn. If we stop and think about how our lives would be so different if we had a Beis Hamikdash, if we had the Shekhinah living amongst us, our lives would be a totally different experience. And especially during the times that we live, with all the tsaros that we've experienced, certainly over the last year and a half, and that we continue to experience, and the rise, unfortunately, al tiftach pel satan, of the terrible anti-Semitism that is beginning to raise its ugly head again, so that there's virtually no place in the world that is totally safe for Jews to live. We need a Beis Hamikdash. We need the Shekhinah amongst us. we need to realize that our lives would be so much more pleasant, so much more fulfilling if we had a Beis Hamikdash. So that if we can't emotionally connect to the Beis Hamikdash, let's try to intellectually connect to that Beis Hamikdash and realize how much better our lives would be if we had one. So that we should mourn properly on Tisha B'Av, to fast, to say as many kinos as we can, and to perhaps connect with so many of the shiurim that we can find either personally or certainly online. And in Mitzvah Hashem, if we mourn properly, Chazal guarantee us that those who mourn for the Beis Hamikdash will see and experience the Beis Hamikdash in all its glory. Mitzvah Hashem, there's still time for Mashiach to come, even today. But if he doesn't, we should observe Tisha B'Av to the best of our ability, to realize that we're missing so much in our lives, and that if we had the Beis Hamikdash, our lives would be that much more, well, more than just being fulfilled, it would be a different life. And in Mitzvah Hashem, we should see the coming of Mashiach, B'mher v'yameinu. Amen.